In a wolf-packed territory filled with tension as everyone is busy preparing for an upcoming battle. But in the midst of this tense atmosphere, I actually saw Emilio and Giovanni teasing each other, completely disregarding the impending fight. This contrast made me both laugh and cry. What's even more shocking is that I actually killed enemies in a battle and was almost shot by my own brother. What's going on here? Why would my own brother attack me? Chapter 20. The following day. The atmosphere within the pack was thick with tension, the looming threat of conflict with the rogues casting a palpable shadow over everyone. The air crackled with anticipation, as if the very earth beneath our feet was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash. As I made my way through the territory, my senses on high alert, I nearly fell victim to one of our own defenses. A barely visible string, stretched taut across my path, almost sent me stumbling into a deadly array of spears. My heart raced as I caught myself just in time, silently cursing Felix for defensals. His absent-minded nature had nearly cost me dearly, and I made a mental note to have a stern word with him later. The pack's preparations were evident everywhere I looked. Hidden traps, strategic vantage points, and an air of grim determination spoke volumes about their readiness for battle. Yet, beneath the surface, I sensed an unsettling eagerness, a thirst for violence that made me question the true nature of those I now called allies. As the sun crested the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, the rogues made their presence known. No longer content with furtive glances and veiled threats, they prowled the borders of our territory, their lupine forms radiating aggression. Their growls carried on the morning breeze, a primal language that Theo seemed to understand all too well. His face, usually a mask of stoic calm, tightened almost imperceptibly as he interpreted their savage message. I found myself near the patrol group, observing Felix, Emilio, and Giovanni as they kept watch. Felix's gaze darted between his companions, his expression a mixture of concern and exasperation as Emilio and Giovanni engaged in their usual banter. Their playful arguments seemed bizarrely out of place in the face of impending violence, and I couldn't help but wonder if their rivalry would prove as dangerous as the enemy we faced. As I watched them, a grim thought crossed my mind. If the rogues didn't claim their lives in the coming battle, their own recklessness just might. By the time the sun was starting to go down, everyone, including me, was starting to get more and more restless as the wait kept lengthening. Still, they kept their positions and remained as alert as possible. Except me. At one point, I got tired of waiting and resort to leaving my post. Felix seemed to not care because all I got was a roll in his eyes and a grunt. I follow a somewhat clear path as I strolled around the territory, losing track of time or where I was leading myself to. Of course, if my life was the stereotypical damsel in distress story, it'd probably end up getting kidnapped by a pack of rogues. Good for me. This was some cheesy Wattpad story. I hum it and I didn't even know I knew as I take slow and steady steps. That was until the ambience shifted and somehow, it felt like the air turned thicker. The quietness of the woods made itself more prominent and I halt my steps. Thud. I blink my eyes and look around the empty area, searching for the source of the sound only for there to be none. Imma like, I mutter to myself. Head out real quick. I keep my mouth together in a thin line and take a steady step back. When my feet plants on the ground, I turn around and begin to sprint out. I gasp when cold fingers wrap around the ankle of my right foot. I stomp on the hand over again immediately with my other foot. You prick. A man's voice growls out. Next time choose your victims wisely, I growl back to the darkness. But that's when a hard strike to the back of my neck forces me to shut up and fall down to the wet earth. Adiel. I hear the OS voice growl out from a distance as if it was nonsense thing HES ever heard. Adiel, says another man in a resolute manner. Then talk. A rogue pushes me into the clearing just outside the borders of the territory. The moonlight was the only source of light. A fourth of your territory in exchange for one of your loyal pack members. The man says, pride in his voice. Do you really think it'd fall for such a lousy deal? Theo says. When my face comes into view, His smirk drops and his voice falters. Hi, I greet him, trying to calm him down with a smile and a small wave. The man who was previously exchanging words with Theo grabs me. He wraps an arm around my neck to keep me in place. Theo eyes this movement and lets out a threatening growl. I let out a shaky breath as I look up. The height difference prominent. This guy is a giant. Not so lousy anymore. Am I right? Alpha. The bald giant mocks. Not as lousy as your lack of bravery. Theo mocks back. It was blood for blood and nothing else. What happened to you? Scared. My captor releases an ugly chortle before continuing. I don't think those measly traps you made will help you prove work hours. Alpha. Traps. Theo says, feigning innocence. You really think I won't find out? The man growls. Find out about what? Theo questions and hums. The man takes in a deep breath, as if annoyed. He says, the traps you have shamelessly placed. How would I have known there are traps? Leo mourned. Theo questions, a smirk dancing on his lips. At least state traps, and all of them are badly placed. A blind man could easily sense them. The man called Leo Mord says. The corners of his lips twitches on an attempt to hold back another growl. Prove it, then, Theo retorts, testing Leo Mo RDS patience. The lopsided smile on his face made his vexation even worse. His grip on me tightens as his anger increased. He was fuming mad and his glare was enough to kill a person. Theo only tilts his head and smiles at him in a taunting manner. I purse my lips in an attempt to save my life. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're still mad at him. It wasn't even that funny. Don't laugh. Before I could think properly, a snicker escapes my lips. I glue my lips together in a tight line immediately. I look up only to see the burning eyes of the rogue. Leonard looms over me and a frown reaches my face. Shit. Both annoying. He snarls, just like to peas in a pod. A new voice joins in and adds, that's something we can both agree on. Shut it. Emilio, Emilio. Theo commands. Then, for the first time, Theo makes eye contact. He nudges his head to his gaze on me as if he was trying to communicate. I narrow my eyes at him in confusion. I keep my eyes on his lips as he parts them open to form the words. Follow me. His brows furrow together and his eyes widen and fear escapes over my captor's shoulder. As if he was in a panicky state. He takes a low march back. Leo Mord loosens his grip on me very slightly. Confused by the situation he was put in. The OS acting might be but my acting puts him to shame. I gasp and buckle my knees to let Leo Mord hold my weight up so I would not fall to the ground. Oh my god. I gasp out, pointing to my left. Like an idiot. Heads turn. Work smarter. Not harder. Caught off guard. I feel his arms loosen enough for me to escape his hold. Before I realize, another hand reaches for me and wraps an arm around my waist. As usual, familiar sparks dance on my skin. Leo Mord growls at Theo, his fists clenching and unclenching. He meets Theo eye level, only separated by the invisible boundary. You fooled me. He snarls. Fools deserve to be fooled. Theo retorts, a devious smile on his face. Only fools would fall for that trick. I hear a shuffle to the right and an awkward laugh from Emilio. Fools. Leo Mord backs up and takes a deep breath in, then out, with his emotions finally in check. He calmly states, blood for blood. I frown as a sadistic smile shows itself on the OS lips. Blood for blood it is. He agrees. My eyes skim over the area and ice cough at him in disbelief. When my eyes land on Talia, Giovanni, Felix, Emilio, and 5 other warriors, I watch them warily as their wolves take over them. It was almost as if they wanted this to happen. Savages, I tell you. I give Talia a little wave when we lock gazes. She rolls her eyes and moves her eyes away from me. Are you serious? I whisper, yell to him. Yes, why? Theo asks, genuinely confused. 10 against a pack of 50 rogues. I mutter loud enough for his ears to pick up. 11 now. He jokes. I pat his shoulder and ignore the arm still wrapped around my waist. Good luck. Handsome. By the way, you're still a jerk. Just give me a moment to run away and you're free to feed your hungry wolves. I tell him, unless you want to be mauled by traps like last time. Then I suggest you stay with me. He whispers to my ear. How do you know THA? I question him in surprise, only to be broken off by a threatening howl. Theo reaches for my hand and a cool material touches my palms. WHA. I look down on my palms and eyeball the pretty-looking knife on my hand. Sparkly. Energy fills me and the sudden to use the weapon makes me numb to any other thoughts. I grip the knife and grow over its clean blade. I hope it's enough to do the work. He voices out. Fancy. Just how I like it. Chapter 21. Kill after kill. Blood dripping on the earth after another. Yet still, I was satisfied. I let my body move at its own accord, slashing the knife ruthlessly onto a rogue's stomach, into the neck of another. I look around me and watch Theo and the others perform the same sinful acts. Their own wolves take over their human selves as bodies drop to the wet earth, but I made sure not to let my wolf take over me completely. Or else, all hell would break loose. It was now that I realized this war was all fun and games for this pack, so I make the most of it. I breath out in satisfaction, then squat down to swing my leg in order to trip the rogue in front of me. A clean swipe on his neck follow right after. I bring a hand to my face and the blood off my lip. I release a content breath and the corners of my lips form into a mischievous smirk. Unfortunately for me, a hand grabs a handful of my hair and drags my body over the soggy dirt. With one hand, I grasp the attacker's wrist. When I secure my hold on them, I bring my other hand to slash it with my knife. The woman screams in agony and clutches her injured hand. Nice finger, I told her in between pants. She glares at me with indescribable anger and terror-filled eyes. She chose to join, and these were consequences of joining a war. I give her one last look of pity before moving along to another victim. Am liking the fit. I tell Giovanni despite my heavy breathing. He whips his head to my direction, lips pursed. I swore the evil in his bright honey eyes was enough to kill a bitch. His wolf smirks at me and looks down on his tattered blood-filled shirt. He didn't seem tired at the slightest. I must say your hair is on a way other level. Though, he says one last time before he spotted another wolf to victimize. I sigh out and lift my hand to scratch my head, only to be met by a naughty mess. I gasp and mutter to myself. Disgust high. An arm embraces me and I could tell who it was immediately. Theo holds my head against his chest, just under his chin. I can't deny the comfort it brought to me. Careful, he informs me. I hear a thump on the ground beside us and I narrow my eyes suspiciously at the rogue. A hole replicates the flesh that was to cover his heart. And I thought I was barbarous. I hit his chest and yep out. Hey, that was not nice. He twists us around but still secures my head flat against his chest. I unwrap myself off him and I keep an eye on Theo as he holds a tight hand on another rival. Theo lifts him up using his unyielding grip and the man scrambles to escape his clutch. He claws at Theo and his face turns into a dark shade of red, struggling to breath. He tightens his grip even more and his forearm flexes. I observe the OS face as the corner of his lips dug into a sadistic smirk, watching the rogue slowly die before him. The part inside of me that was mad at him and care compels me to tear down the satisfaction he was feeling. I briskly lash out the knife on the dying man's abdomen, making him die completely. Poor guy. A smirk reaches my face and I watch the smirk on the OS face fall down. A growl rumbles out of his chest at the memory of his kill being taken away from him. All alphas are proud creatures who refuse to let anyone take their pride away from them. My heart suddenly feels lighter at his lack of satisfaction. This isn't a video game. Alex? He scowls at me. Still, there was a hint of humor in his voice as he speaks. We don't steal kills here. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. I inform him. A grin reaches my face and I watch Theo lunge onto another wolf, ending the rogue's life. His eyes twinkle deviously after his satisfaction finally consumes him once again. Hey! Emilio shouts at him in a wary tone. He gapes at Theo, who just took his kill, mouth parted in bewilderment. I can't see the content expression on the OS face, but I notice his back muscles flex as he crosses his arms proudly, feeling the lack of rogues attacking me out of nowhere. I let my eyes roam the space filled with pure destruction. I note the decreasing number of standing rogues, their lifeless bodies and blood painting the territory. And then I spot a person I thought I'd never see ever again. My eyes remain trained on his short dark hair and my favorite pair of amber eyes. My feet was planted on the ground and refused to move. I couldn't bring myself to make a single movement, so I don't. I just watch him as he draws the string of his bow back, then releases. I watch his eyes squint in torment, and before I knew it, pain erupts on my leg. My body forces itself to drop the ground, and I clutch my thigh where the arrow dug itself into. I steal a glimpse of where my attacker would have been, only to be met by trees and darkness. No signs of anyone. I scrutinize the arrow that buried itself onto my thigh, a shot not meant to kill but to impale. A hiss escapes my lips when I make even the slightest movement. It seemed that the skin around the wound registered every little move I made. I narrow my eyes and refuse to let tears drop over such a mere injury. Weak, my hands grip the dirt beneath me, digging my nails into the earth. I groan after a failed attempt to lift myself off the ground. My ears pick up heavy footsteps as another person slowly approaches my impaired body. Fuck. I grumble to myself in panic. The looming shadow in front of me that seemed to grow taller and taller. Theo. UIDI. Help me. I shout and bring my arms in front of me to cover an oncoming strike to my head. My eyes shut close on instinct and I hold my breath in. Relief fills me when I hear a threatening growl and a body drop. Heavily, I let my arms fall and release a shaky breath as I stare at Theo's muscular back. His muscles tense while he attempts to contain his fury. I ignore the fact that if another second had been wasted, I would probably be dead and lying on the ground. I follow the OS human gaze and land on Leo Moard's heartless chest. All I do is watch as dark red threatens to consume his gray orbs. Theo struggles to keep his wolf in the depths of his mind. To my luck, I wouldn't have to find out what menacing consequences could have happened if his wolf did manage to take control. For now, at least. Finally, Theo takes notice of my presence and he rushes to me. His eyes narrows at my pained expression and he mirrors it as if he was in pain himself. Swiftly, he breaks a part of the arrow shaft, but did not remove it entirely. The arrow, which remains in my flesh, provides enough pressure itself to prevent too much bleeding. My eyes follow Theo as he rips the fabric of his shirt. Then, he wraps the material around the wounded area to minimize the shaft's movement. Maybe it was the pain from wound or the embarrassment and my loss of pride. Maybe it was the aching I felt from seeing my own brother harm me without hesitation. But I suddenly burst into tears and let out heaps of sobs without a care in the world. I didn't care if I looked like a mess and any signs of hatred for him was now gone. I just wanted to cry like the sensitive little bitch I was. I look at Theo with terror-filled eyes and he furrows his brows in agony. He brings an arm under my leg and my back, lifting me up bridal style carefully. My arms immediately wraps themselves around him over his shoulder. His movements were cautious, but I notice his pace increase in alarm as he glances at me repeatedly. I let myself relax in his touch, but still, the tears refuse to stop. Cry, baby. Weak. Theo. I tried telling him in between uncontrollable sobs. He was there. He shot me. Why would H? He places his lips on my forehead and I close my eyes simultaneously. Take it slow. Me amor. He tells me gently. Tell me later when you believe I deserve to know. I'm not letting the you right now force you to tell me. Okay? Close your eyes. You'll be safe soon. My love. I feel my consciousness slip and I mumble out a small and weak. Okay? I'm sorry. I hear him rant. That was enough to feed the temporary void in my heart and I close my eyes with a triumphant smile. Chapter 22. I watched the door creak open and Ian's tousled hair pop out of the doorway first. My gaze stays on him suspiciously when I notice his hands behind his back. What now? I grumble. He beams at me with the brightest smile despite my lack of excitement. Someone woke on the wrong side of bed. I see. He jokes. And what side of the floor did you wake up on? I retort. Your hair is more fucked up than usual. Ian, wow. He breathes out. Thanks, sis. You're one and only. He rolls his gorgeous amber eyes, but soon another smile reaches his face. I always wondered how he could be so cheerful. How could he be so carefree? I brought you something. He tells me, excitement radiating off of him. My usual meal. I question, boredom lacing my voice. He brings his hands in front of him and states, a cake. I cowed and hide the smile on my face. His glee was rubbing off on me. He settles the box of cake beside me on the bed. You're welcome. I roll my eyes but still. A smile was present on my face. Thank you. I tell him softly. I watch his smile stretch wider, only for it to fall down as fast it came. And he hesitates to continue. I know. I assure him, hoping that the bitterness didn't show in my voice. Ian leaves the room and comes back with the usual tray full of a small meal and a cup with disgusting contents. He smiles at me one more time before leaving the room entirely. I sigh and decide to eat the cake first, glad that I at least received a gift. Well. Happy birthday to me. I whisper to myself and shrug my shoulders. I wake up to the comforts of my bed, Theo's hand laced in mine, and his hair tickling my arms. He was situated on a chair. His body bent him comfortably so that his head was resting on my bed just beside my stomach. I bend my knees and move myself further down the bed so that I could catch a glimpse of his face. He looked so peaceful and so fascinating. Often, his appearance reminded me of an intimidating and cunning CEO of some sort. But right now, he looked pretty. I wanted to sprinkle him with gold dust and dress him in one of those Roman to gas. In my eyes right now, he appeared to be some Adonis. I wanted to place a leaf headband on his head and make his hair more tousled. I wanted to paint him with his fingers running onto the strings of a harp. I rubbed my thumb over his dark brows, mesmerized. Damn you, moon goddess. My eyes remain fixated on his face as I trace my fingers along his unbelievably perfect nose and down to his plump lips. Feeling brazen as always, I run my thumb along the bottom of his lips. I was enthralled by this man's beauty. A mood goddess is so unfair. His lips lift into a smirk and I process this movement too late. He bites playfully on my finger and I retract my hand away from him. You bitch, you. I cuss at him and pulling myself away. Theo lifts his head off the bed and stretches his arms, a small yawn escaping his mouth. He laughs and says, seems like you've kept yourself busy, how? By checking you out. I answer him blatantly, you're not so bad yourself. He jokes, a smirk on his face. I merely roll my eyes, deciding that my body felt too stiff on this position. I try to raise my body, only to be met by a sharp pain on my leg. Fucking hell. Theo chuckles at my wide set of vocabulary but aids me in bringing myself up. He places a hand on my back and delicately positions me so that my back was against the headboard. Thanks. I mutter. He sits back on his chair and scoots more forward towards me, leaning into me in the process. No one talked for a while, so I resorted to playing with my fingers. When you were shot, he starts off, interrupting the silence. His head stays low, but he grabs my hand once again, massaging it. I was confused, frightened even. You weren't healing as fast just like a regular human. As dumb as it sounds, I didn't know what to do. You were in so much pie. You know. I disrupt him. It was now or never. It was itching me and I was burning to tell him for the longest time. The rogue Pax created my wolf to find ways to kill the lichen. Theo's head remained low, but his body stiffened and his thumb stopped rubbing circles on my palm. He didn't speak at all and continued to listen. They say the experiments began when your grandfather was born. They took him captive, some even volunteered and made their wolf stronger. They try to alter their wolves so that they were powerful enough to kill a lichen, although none of them was even close enough to replicating a lichen's strength. But every action has their own consequences. The rogues tried to make these wolves so strong that it took a toll on the human part of them. The human were noted to experience fatigue, lack of immunity, which led to poor healing, as well as poor behavior and strength. That's why I'm so weak and that's why I can't heal properly. Theo didn't speak. The only indication of his response was how his hand tightly held mine and how his body heaved heavily. His hair covered his face since his head was bowed down, hiding any emotions he felt at the moment. I watch as his muscles soon relax and his breathing became more even. "I'm sorry," he murmurs, his thumb rubbing circles on my palm once again. He says sorry a lot. "You shouldn't be the one apologizing," I whisper to him, a frown on my face. "No, Alexandria," he tells me firmly. "I should be apologizing. In fact, there's 100 things on my list that I need to apologize for. Look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being such a jerk and not treating you as my priority. I'm sorry for letting others look down on you. I'm sorry for not being a proper mate and treating our bond like it was some game." I gape at him for God knows how long, surprised by his sudden honesty. I observe him as he runs his other hand through his hair and he has been caressing. Two hands massage my hands so delicately, prodding me to say something. He reminded me of a little kid waiting for an approval. "I accept your apology," I reply, my heart feeling lighter than ever. Not knowing what else to say, I open myself arms and wait for my well-deserved hug. When Theo didn't hear a response, he looks up for the first time. I drop my arms when my eyes land on his pain-stricken expression. His lips were pursed together and downturned. "Are you actually about to cry?" I gasp out. "Well, fuck you," he curses out. His brows furrow and his eyes narrow at me suspiciously. An uncontrollable smile breaks out on my face and I let out a laugh. I open my arms again and brace myself for a hug. "Stop smiling," he huffs out. Then, he lifts himself off the seat and settles beside me. "How could you be so carefree right now? I didn't know you were such a big softie." I tease him. He releases a playful growl and scoots closer to me, bringing a hand to the side of my head. He gently moves my head so I laid on his chest. "I'm not," he huffs out. "Then what are you?" "I'm a big bad multi-millionaire possessive alpha who exerts dominance," he says proudly with a smirk. I laugh and hit his chest playfully. "Then what am I?" "My little runt who's submissive to me," he ridicules. I roll my eyes and laugh out. Sure, Mr. Softy." "No, I'm not," he huffs out. "Oh, really?" I question him and raise a brow. "Was it an act?" "It was my way of seducing you." He lies. "Oh, shut up. It worked, didn't it?" he says smugly and pulls me closer to him. I scoff sarcastically and he chuckles. We lay silently like that for another while, me on his chest and him rubbing his chin on the top of my head. Ask me questions. I incite, noticing how his eyes seemed to burn with questions when I looked up at him. He opens his mouth to say something, but hesitates and switches to a different question. "Are you planning to kill me someday?" he says lightheartedly like it was a joke. Still, I somehow felt the sternness in his voice, pleading me to say otherwise. Assassinating you would have been a perfect plot. I joke, going along with him. But no, the rogues use us as guinea pigs and damage our wolves to see how strong they could become before we couldn't handle it anymore. I don't know specifically what the rogues would do, but then they use this information they gathered from us to create a safer ingredient. This safer and better poison is given to another more important person who no one else but the rogues themselves know. But the goal is the same, to kill the lichen, to kill you. Fortunately, they haven't even gotten close to a solution. They either go unpunished, or simply pawns for a king. So no, Theo, I was sent to assassinate you at nighttime while you're sleeping. Although, that would be a pretty cool storyline, if I say so myhow. He growls out. How could you say this so lightly? I pause, and when I notice his other hand curling into a fist, I decide to laugh it off. It irritated him more. "Stop that," he commands me in a resolute manner. "Stop what?" I question him, genuinely confused. Using laughter as a defense mechanism, he huffs out, "It's okay to feel unhappy. It's okay to feel ashamed. Weak, or vulnerable. It's okay to feel not okay." My breath hitches, feeling stunned myself. I hold back another nervous laugh in fear of confirming his statement. How could he interpret me so easily? Am I really that goddamn obvious? "It's okay to feel like a softie," I tease him. I made sure to keep his previous words in my mind. Now he chuckles. That's a way different story. I don't speak, my mind craving space and time to finally think. It feels like a dream, when not another word was spoken. I look up only to be met by the OS peaceful sleeping state. A light laugh escapes my lips when a soft snore leaves the OS parted lips. I watch him dreamily as his brows furrow and he murmurs, "It'll kill them for you." Another smile tugs at the corner of my lips, but my brain bombards me with 100 thoughts. I sigh out in relief. A part of me was glad that he didn't ask about my brother, because, frankly, I didn't know the answer either. Chapter 23. I wake up to Theo pelting my forehead and nose with little pecks of kisses. I groan out, pissed off that he woke me up after just an hour of napping. My arm swings at its own accord in an attempt to hit Theo. But of course, he dodges it easily. "Go to hell, Theo," I murmur and shut my eyes tightly. "I can't help it. You're just a pretty," he tells me with a chuckle. "Of course I am." I agree with him groggily. He only laughs and continues his routine of giving me little smooches on my face. Both his arms were on either side of my head and he hovered on top of me. His legs also on both my sides. Sensing an opportunity, I bring my knee up and jab his stomach. And of course, he didn't flinch at all. "Wonderful," he groans and says, "That kinda hurt. You know, do I look like I care?" "Ouch," he says and rubs his heart as if he was in pain. A smile threatens to break out on my face, loving the affectionate side of him. Too bad for him. My sleepy side forced me to shut my eyes close and shouted at me to fall asleep. "Go away," I grumble. The only response I hear was a soft laugh before I felt his soft lips on my eyelids. After bringing his hands to ruffle my hair, he then pecked my forehead, my nose, and both my cheeks. And when my heart couldn't handle it anymore, he began to trail little kisses along my jaw. I held back a soft laugh when tingles surfaced on my skin. Just when I thought he was done, he moves his lips and places them softly just beside mine. I feel his lips curl into a mischievous smirk. I open my eyes to see the starry gaze twinkling in his beautiful eyes. "What would you do if I kissed you right here?" he breathes out with his husky voice. Oh, so he was playing this game. An identical smirk forms on my face and I place my hands on his back, willing him closer. I don't know what brought me to doing something so bold. Maybe it was the prideful spirit in me that refused to back down. Or maybe it was because I was too sleepy to think properly. Maybe it was the mate bond giving me bursts of butterflies in my stomach and making my heart beat fast enough to give me a heart attack. But I move my lips so it brushes his delicately. I've been wanting to do this since the day I met him. He doesn't waste a second before leaning in further and presses his lips even deeper. I feel his warmth on my skin and it sends shivers down my spine. He brings his hands to cup my face and moves his lips perfectly against mine. I felt the adrenaline rush to me and I let my body act on its own accord because right here, right now, all that mattered was him. His kiss was softer than a feather but passionate as his lips danced with mine gracefully. I feel the crinkling of his lips as it forms into a smile before we pull apart. And then I feel the racing of my heart when I open my eyes to meet his gray orbs, enjoying the tingles. It was the intention in his eyes and the scything gaze in them that had me so mesmerized. He moves a hand to the side of my neck and runs a thumb along my jaw. He gives me a lopsided smile and I mirror it. "Bold. I like it." He chuckles. "You're not so bad yourself. Stealing my lines now." I see. He hones. Did I manage to steal your heart? As well. I go along and let out a laugh. It's all yours. Me amor. He says and places his forehead against mine. I scoff and he mimics it dramatically. Now get off me. Theo. His eyes travel to my lips and he leans down to give me another short kiss before lifting his body off of me. Caught off guard. My feet misses to land a hit to his side by barely a few centimeters. I sigh dreamily before bringing the blankets to cover my head, feeling drowsy once again. Too bad. Theo had other plans. He rips the blankets off of me and reaches for my arm in an attempt to drag me off the bed. What a loving mate. When I refuse to move a single muscle, I feel the bed dip, catching me by surprise. The comforts of my bed was suddenly gone. Theo carefully lifts me off the bed bridal style and exits my room, leaving it in a state of messiness. What the hell? Theo. I groan out. He nudges his door open and uses his back close it once we entered. Really? What are you planning on doing? He places me on his bed swiftly and says, we're watching a TV show. I need sleep. I need sleep. I grumble. Do I look like I care? He says, impersonating me in a high, shrilly voice. Okay. I huff and cross my arms. I do. Not sound like that. Yes, you do. He tells me firmly. Whatever. He grabs a remote from his nightstand and turns on his TV. Then, he throws his blanket to my face and says, now shut up and watch this with me. Mustering up all my strength, I throw the remote control at the TV. I hear Theo take a deep breath and I growl at him. Stupid. 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 I groan out, running my hands through my hair. This TV show was testing my anger management skills and irritated me more anyone ever could. The characters and endings piss me off. Stupid Kagami. Stupid Luca. Die bitches. I rant. Kagami can I but please let Luke alive. HES quite charming. Theo adds, this show is childish. It's us. Theo says and chuckles as if he just said the funniest joke of the century. It was currently 4 in the morning and we've been binge-watching Miraculous since 12 at night. Theo and I were running at an hour of sleep and this show did not help at all. I'm pretty sure I looked like zombies with my fucked up, messy hair, huge eye bags, and unhealthy complexions. Theo, on the other hand, could pass for a cull and despite his tangled hair and dark eye bags. I shoot envious daggers at him and he glances at me nonchalantly, his body propped on one arm. A sudden desire crosses my mind, and I send Theo an excited glance. It was the urge to see nature, to smell the clean air, and listen to the tranquil silence of the woods. You want to go for a run, I suggest, nudging him. With your injured leg? Theo questions with a skeptical brow. Let me restate that. I continue. Want to go for a walk? Okay. He answers. Only if you stick to me and not go wandering off. Don't want to get to injuries in less than 2 days now. Do we? Deal. I hop off the bed. Fortunately, my injury simmered down enough for me to have the ability to walk. There was an obvious limp, but at least I was able to walk around freely without feeling a striking pain every time I moved a muscle. Theo guides me with a hand on my back, leading me out of his room and down to the 2nd floor. After we painstakingly got to the bottom of the stairs, he stops and eyes the empty hallways warily. What? I question him with a well-needed whisper due to the eerie silence. Just scared that Felix will pop out of nowhere. I've been blocking out his mind links and the others the whole day. Felix probably had to bear with the responsibilities. He whispers back. I let out an unladylike snort and Theo continues to guide me to the very 1st floor of the huge-ass mansion. We both release a deep breath once we got out of the double doors, feeling relieved. Somehow, I felt like an agent who just completed an important mission. We walk over the grass surrounded by a garden full of a variety of flowers and finally reach the vastness of the woods. And then we just walk, side by side, our steps in sync, and enjoy the simple pleasures of nature. The silence was awkward as we solely lost ours to nature's beauty. The only sound was our soft breathing and the crunches of the leaves as we walked over them. We passed by the little family houses that surrounded the bigger pack house. When a little girl barges out of one of the houses, Theo halts his movements. We watch as she darts her wide eyes everywhere as if she was searching for a place to hide. She seemed about 67 years of age and wore a dandelion sweater too large for her size. God, I hate kids. She spots a bush right by us and runs to our direction, not noticing our much larger figures. She must be blind. Her long, blonde hair that was tied in a loose ponytail bounces up and down, just right when I was about to confirm that she is in fact actually blind. She stops. She eyes Theo from his shoes to the tippy top of his head, ignoring my godly form. Unexpectedly, he bends down to her height and scoops her little body up. He beams at her affectionately and I gape at him and wonders, "What are you doing out here alone?" "Amelia," he asks her with a soft voice, his eyes twinkling with affection. "Running away from Dad." She giggles. God, I really do hate kids. Rush and heavy footsteps enter my eardrums. Amelia's father, I assume, runs over to us. "Alpha, Luna." He greets us with a bow and Theo hands Amelia over to him. I apologize for the hindrance. "There's no need to apologize." "Really?" Theo tells him and ruffles Amelia's hair, who is now in her father's arms. He smiles at her and she gives him a toothy grin in return. "Then I must bid you goodbye." "Thank you, Alpha. Farewell, Luna," he says in a hurry and scrambles off to the confines of his house. I follow Theo as he continues his walking once again. "You must really like kids," I begin. "Yeah," he breathes out. "When I found out Kara was 3 months pregnant with a little boy, I was overwhelmed with happiness. I was already planning his outfits and bought toys way before he was due. I decide not to bombard him with questions when I saw the pure happiness on his face. I admit that the curiosity was beginning to kill me, but I don't say anything. The peacefulness he exerted made my heart feel light and made this whole day feel like it was some fragile dream. And then, Theo starts laughing out of nowhere like a maniac. I frown at him, confused by his antics. "What now?" I grumble, sensing that he was making fun of me inside his mind. "I just thought of you with our kid." He admits, "You'd think that it sounded romantic." Honestly, it'd probably be in a fit of giggles if not for the fact that Theo tried to suppress another laugh. "You'd probably hand them a dagger the minute they're born and gift them a bow on their first birthday." "Shut up. You know it'd be a great mother. You do want to throw the whole child away. Your image of me seems to be very appealing." I say and nudge him. A smirk reaches my face. "Who said I liked you enough to have a child with you?" Wrapping an arm around my waist. He pulls me close to him and brushes his lips on my ear. I shiver unintentionally. Well be seen about that. He tells me lowly and I could clearly imagine that same signature smirk on his face. Chapter 24. After my short walk with Theo, I immediately went back to my wonderful bed while he went off to his tedious duties. I was able to nap for an hour or two until Felix's violent knocking woke me up. He greeted me with a dissatisfied grunt and narrowed eyes before dragging me to the weight room. So here I was, picking up weights like Celestina had directed me to. Out of all the activities Celestina chose for today, she chose weightlifting. I'd rather sprint the whole day for Chris. Anyways, as expected, I couldn't lift anything heavier than 5 piles of book on my hands. I groan as Celestina hands me a 45-pound dumbbell. And here I was, thinking that Amelia was the evil twin. "Pick up the weight, Alex," Celestina tells me with her 500 sigh. My arms drop to the ground due to the weight, but I keep the smirk on my face and huff out. "The only thing it'll pick up is your love for me. Celestina, you really flatter me," she drawls out sarcastically. "Good to know." I bemet her and clasp my hands together. "Now if you just let me leave." "Nuha," she says, clicking her tongue and smiling. "The only time you can leave is the moment you can finally carry a weight the average." I chuckle. "Hun, my back already hurts from carrying this dress you're giving me." Just let me go, goddess. She chuckles and with sarcasm dripping in her voice. She adds excitedly, if humans can do it, you can do it too. You already know that the only thing I'll ever do is you. I retort with an exaggerated wink. She shakes her head and smiles, flipping her hair simultaneously. Then, Celestina opens her mouth to say something when a growl rudely disrupts her. The other women around me working out stops their movements and stares at the intruder. I, on the other hand, raise a skeptical brow. Say that again. Alex, I dare you. I hear Giovanni growl that out in a threatening manner. He strides towards me with a furious gaze, but Celestina's arm stops him. I let out a cackle and he growls lowly at me. Alex, go, Celestina sighs out, dissatisfaction in her tone. I smile at her, glad that my words worked. Oh my, how talented I am. Before I leave, though, I tiptoe to meet Giovanni's height so that I was almost eye to eye with him. A smirk tugs on my lips and I whisper to him loud enough for Celestina to hear. Jealousy looks good on you. Like I predicted. He attempts to claw at me only for Celeste and his hold to stop him from doing so. You are so dead. Alex. He snarls and cocks his head side to side. At least he goes by my name and not by the term rogue now. Ah, will you look at this? My wonderful friends. Celestina wraps another arm around Giovanni and tries to pacify him, using this as an opportunity. I muster up all my strength and lift the dumbbell off the floor. For the first time, my body didn't fall from the weight in less than 3 seconds. I swing my arms and fling the weights hoping it landed on Celeste and his or Giovanni's feet. Sadly, the couple flinches, startled, and I pat my hands together feigning accomplishment. Goodbye, I shout to them before turning my body away to run out of the room filled with murderous energy. I pick up my pace when I hear Giovanni's growl, only it was louder than the last. After concluding I didn't have anything else to do but sleep, I led myself into the pack house, before I could even take a step. Though, however which, I stop. Theo and Felix laughter reaches my ears and I follow the voices to the back where the gardens and pool area should be. I keep my distance and their figures finally enter my line of sight. The OS arm was draped over Felix's shoulder like to good old friends. Maybe if I try sneaking up on the 2 more figures join the 2 and I bring myself back to reality. I frown when Kara's and Scarlett's hideous faces invades the beautiful picture. My breathing hitches when I take in Kara's appearance. Sure, she does ruin my mood every time, but that wasn't the reason that her presence made my heart drop this time. It was the tear streaks down her face, tangled hair, and deranged expression as Scarlett drags her in front of Theo. If it was the tension that suddenly takes its place, maybe I would have laughed. Maybe. I take one last peek at Kara's trickling sanity before hiding myself. I crouch down and hide behind a pony wall surrounding the patio. It was enough to cover my small body. I was too far to be smelled and hopefully too far to be sighted. Still, I could pick up their voices despite the distance. Yes, I was being a nosy little bitch, but I couldn't help it. I admit that I didn't want to be left in the dark anymore. I hug my knees but move my body to the sides so that I could see what was happening. What happened here? Theo growls at Scarlett as he scrutinized his sister. She didn't run to him for a hug like I thought she would. She just drops down and hugs her knees, rocking her body. Silas, Scarlett replies with a heavy sigh. Silas happened to. I hear Theo growl out and Kara's sobs become louder. When? Theo warningly questions Scarlett. While the rogues attacked. He infiltrated our boundaries and met Kara in her room. I don't know what happened after, but I found Kara in this state after she didn't leave her room since. Scarlett tells him. Theo runs a hand through his hair and takes deep breaths in an attempt to control himself. For a fraction of a second, I almost threw myself in there to comfort him. How stupid would that be? Felix simply puts a hand in his shoulder and immediately, Theo calms down. Damn, he could be the OS mate if he really wanted to. Theo crouches down to meet his sister's height and wraps and around her, while he rubs circles on her back. She starts sobbing more uncontrollably into his chest. I feel excessive moving body and I almost swore he rolled his eyes. "I'm sorry," was the only thing that came out of the OS mouth. Kara starts throwing weak punches at Theo while he held her. I do my best to keep myself planted to the ground. "Where were you?" She seethed with so much hatred that it surprised me too. Theo hesitates before he continues in a soft voice. "I had packed duties to do and I had to tend to my mate." Carol asks and pushes Theo away from her. Theo lets the force guide his body away after seeing the crazed expression on her face. He watches his sister, who is going more and more insane with so much pity and hurt in his eyes. "I am so gonna beat up that bitch one day." "Oh, so you're gonna throw me away and ignore me for a lifetime?" Now she exasperates. Just because a pathetic excuse of a mate. I clench my fists together and take deep breaths to stop myself from doing something ill regret. Hit me, punch me, tick me, call me names. I don't care. But the one thing I don't allow you to do is insult her. Theo growls at her, his wolf fighting for dominance. After a few moments, he resists his wolf's control and continues in a much calmer tone. "She was hurt." "Kara?" Kara gasps in disbelief and throws her hands up in the air dramatically. She flashes Theo with loathing eyes and he frowns. "I was hurt too." "Theo," she shouts at him. No one says anything for a while, leaving only heavy breathing and sobs to fill the silent air. Theo parts his mouth to say something but decides to say something else instead after looking at Kara. She was so close to breaking and he wanted to be careful with his words. "I am sorry." He hesitates. He really does say sorry a lot. Carol asks and looks up at the sky, her eyes filled with tears. "Then I own deception." She whips her head to Theo once again. This time, she did lose all her sanity. She hugs her knees and mocks herself like earlier. Except this time, I could see her claws protruding and scratching her legs. Scars repeatedly from on her skin, one on top of another. Dry blood was the only sign of her wounds, for it healed as fast as it was inflicted. "You don't deserve a mate," she spouts at Theo, loathing in her tone. She sobs to herself like a crazy person. "You destroyed my chance of having one and having a child alive and well. So why did the moon goddess bless you with one?" Theo recoils as if an arrow was shot and directed to his beating heart. He clenches his jaw and winces in torment. It was gone before I could even comprehend it. I shrink back, not liking seeing my mate in a state of pain. Still, Kara was dumb and continues to speak with a dry laugh. "Actually, now that I think about it, it isn't so much of a blessing. With such an irritable mate like her, I'd rather wish I didn't have one." Oh, how the tables have turned. Theo peers at his crazed sister and lets the dismay sink in. He narrows his eyes at his sister in disbelief. After a long second, Theo lifts himself back up and takes a step away from her as if being close to her repulsed him. He musters an expressionless face and stoically says, "That's it. We're visiting mother." Carol lets out another dry laugh, and I Keyword almost. Theo turns to Scarlett and can command, "Bring her to her room and pack up her things. And I don't care what it takes. But have her ready before sunrise tomorrow. Or else, I'll drag her myself." Scarlett purses her lips to try to stop herself from opposing, but merely says, "Yes, Alpha. Let's go." Theo commands Felix firmly. He remains indifferent, creating a mask that fully hid his emotions. Felix simply nods and follows Theo inside the pack house, painfully going past Kara's hysterical figure. And all I do is silently watch Kara's sanity fade away as she screams and digs her nails into the wet earth. Chapter 25. Not exactly feeling like going back to my room anymore, I allow my body to lead myself that woods for a walk. I needed time to think, and like always, nature was my first resort. Let's just wish I don't get kidnapped this time. Fucking bitch caught me off guard last time. I sigh and wander around, making sure that I was in close proximity to any signs of residence. This way, it'd be easier for others to notice the absence of my presence. I take a deep breath in and then out. I was bombarded with hundreds of thoughts and questions. My curiosity was piqued and I held myself back from questioning Theo. Today was not the time to attack him with questions. I could feel his low spirits through the bond even though he hasn't marked me yet. Of course. I could tell how conflicted he was as of right now. He was stuck in despair and was greatly discouraged after hearing such vile words come out of his innocent little sister's mouth. His heartache naturally made me feel troubled as well. A part of me wanted to run to him and give him a back hug in hopes of easing his pain. The other part of me wanted to attack him with questions because it hurt me inside that so many secrets were being kept from me. But I couldn't bring myself to bring him more grief. I didn't want to hurt him just to satisfy my curiosity. I groaned to myself mentally when I realized how easy it was for me to hurt others. But when it comes to Theo, it was a whole other story. On that note, a sudden desire to be next to someone's presence and annoy them will be to change directions. The satisfaction of groans of disbelief and sounds of aggravation were music to my ears. And at this moment, I longed to hear Giovanni's dissatisfied growls. I turn on my heels and search for my victim, finding my way to the wait rooms. I wished to myself that Celestina and him were still there. Training barely ended a few minutes ago. Anyways, finally, I reach my destination. I look around the empty room and release a heavy sigh. For the first time, I was upset about not seeing Giovanni and Celestina showcase their PDA. Instead, I find my way to the outside training grounds as my final resort. Well, will you look at this? An unladylike snort escapes me when I see the lovey-dovey couple fighting on the dirty grass. The content smile was spotted on Giovanni's face. The happiness Giovanni shows when he's around Celestina contrasted his usually rude and dull demeanor. It gave me a break from seeing the hideous sneer on his face. But right now, that was exactly what I needed. When he tackles Celestina on the ground and tries to put dirt on her face, I decided it was the queen's time to shine. I pick up a random pebble and fling it at the back of Giovanni's head. I quickly recompose myself and pretend to analyze my beautiful nails. Using my peripheral, I was starting to regret ever coming here. Like some creepy doll, Giovanni slowly twists his head to look at the intruder Akami. I hear a sigh before he lifts himself off the ground, pulling Celestina up afterwards. "I'm liking your nails, Alex?" Giovanni starts off with his arms crossed. Mind telling me the color and idea behind it? It's all natural and clear. I inform him dramatically. I look forward to meet his eyes and smirk. Just like Celestina and his love for each other is very clear and well known. So back off, Giovanni. Yeah, right. It's so clear that I can't even see it. I roll my eyes and hold my hand to my heart, pretending like his words cut me. I fake a sniffle and say, "Oh, dude. Why do you have to be like this?" Yeah, whatever. Keep crying, Alex. It's quite satisfying," he tells me, and a smug smile. I immediately drop the pitiful and act. I turn to Celestina and say with a pout, "Are you really gonna waste my love for you like this?" She lets out a genuine laugh and shakes her head. "Sorry, hun, you were too late. I'm already taken." Giovanni smiles and places arm around her shoulder, then gives her a soft kiss on the top of her head. Now this, I was not expecting. Why does he have to be in a good mood today out of all the days? God damn it. I cringe and blurt out, "Get a room, for Christ's sake." Somehow, this motivated them more and Celestina raises her head to kiss him on the cheeks with a giggle. Before I could the image of Giovanni leaning in for a kiss on the lips. I cover my eyes and slowly back away. "Shall we skip dinner tonight, my dear Celestina?" he asks her seductively, knowing very well that I was still here. Before I hear her tortuous reply, I muster up all my energy to run off and shout back at them. "You guys are hopeless." All I hear was their laughter before I scurry back to the pack house. I cut the top of my head to feel my hood, then make my way inside the dining room. Tonight was quieter than usual. Small chatter and the sound of forks and spoons and scraping the plates were the only signs of life. At which a discontented sigh escapes my lips when I don't see Theo and his signature mischievous smirk. knowing fully well the reason behind his absence. I was struggling between comforting him or pretending like nothing happened. I wanted to console him, but that shout so I kinda eavesdropped and found your sister crying like an idiot for some man blah blah blah. I thought of using the mate bond as an excuse, but I imagined lying right at his face and I could feel the guilt eating me away. I didn't get it. I was a great liar. Lying and coaxing people was step 1 of How to Steal Like a Pro by Alexandria Catalina. So like Alden, I just lied to him. I told myself that it was okay to lie to him because it was a simple and lousy lie. But still, my heart defied my brain. But he never tells me the truth either. So why should I? And at the same time, I wanted him to be the one to tell me about his secrets. Different emotions flooded me and I couldn't help but feel conflicted. So instead, I choose the easier way out, go with the flow. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is the wisest statement of the century. I bring myself back to reality and thank the lady who serves me my platter. I clear my mind of Kara and Theo, making the decision to instead focus on the most crucial event of today, dinner. I stab my fork into the beef bulgogi, then raise it to my mouth to enjoy it, following with a spoonful of rice right after. Hey, don't you have the same shirt? A little boy whispers to who I assume is an older sister. You're right. She whispers back in a delighted tone just like a mom does to a child. The boy opens his mouth again to speak, but she stops him halfway as if she knew exactly what words she would hear. That just means Luna and I have the same style. Like a track's like, maybe we can even bond easier. Do you get it, Esther? Of course we're gonna bond. I stole it from you in the first place. The little boy stares back at her in wonder and slowly nods. They return to their eating. I would too if not for the sound of doors being slammed open. I almost choke on a piece of beef when I feel the OS warm skin on mine. He wraps his arms around the chair and around my waist for a hot second before relaxing and letting go. I feel his fingers on the back of my neck as he moves my hair to the side. A delighted shiver runs through me as he tucks in a strand of hair behind my ear. You know, I've been missing you all day. Come with me. He whispers to me casually. Seriously. I question him. I all my fellow pack members who were stealing glances at us like we were some celebrity couple. I contemplate whether to strike a pose while fair at it. Theo follows my gaze and rolls his eyes before pulling me out of my chair. Who cares? He grumbles. But my food. I whine to him, pouring my all heart into this one special line. He grabs my wrist with care and guides me out of the dining room and engrossed paparazzis. I'll cook you food later, he tells me with a chuckle. I scoff and say, I'd rather die of starvation than eat your food ever again. That's home-cooked food for you. Love. I only roll my eyes as my response and allow a comfortable silence envelope us. I let him lead me excruciatingly up the stairs and into his bedroom in a rushed manner. Ooh, bald. I like it. I tease him. You and stealing my lines every single time. He laughs, shutting the door behind him. He places both his hands on my shoulders and sits me down on the edge of his bed. And as much as I want to, we're not doing this tonight. I shut my mouth fast in the speed of light when I sense the urgency in his voice. My eyes follow Theo as he sits down on the spot next to me and moves me so that I was between his legs. He runs a hand through his hair before meeting my eyes reassuringly. Ask me questions. He utters out assuring lie. Doubt and confusion runs through my veins, making me hesitate to reply. What? He sighs and wraps his arms around me, placing his chin on my shoulder. I know you were there listening, watching. He tells me. My breathing hitches, but at the same time, I almost sighed out in relief when I didn't hear any accusation in his tone. How? I squeak without letting the words process in my mind first. Am not stupid. Alexandria. I can sense anyone coming my way from a mile away, and your scent is too strong to hide. I'm sorry. I tell him sincerely. Naturally. Shame fills me and I purse my lips together in a tight line. Before I could even start fidgeting with my fingers, he stops me by lacing his hands through mine. You shouldn't be, he says in a resolute manner. am the one hiding secrets from you, and you deserve to know. I nod and smile in appreciation, glad that he understood me. With the guilt lifted, I snuggle closer into him and ask, "So you're leaving tomorrow?" He pauses for a painstaking second before shortly answering, "Yes." A frown tugs on my lips and I don't say anything. I didn't know what else to say except rant about how much I don't want him to go. "A week," Theo breathes out. "Give me a week and I'll come back to tell you everything. Every single detail. When that time finally runs out, I'll answer all the questions you've been wanting to ask me truthfully." I nod my head furiously and he chuckles. If he needed the time to think and fix things first, then I'd give it to him. I trust him. And Alexandria? Yeah. Do you think? He starts off reluctantly and lifts his pink finger. That within a week, you can finally talk to me about your brother. I take a few moments and think to myself. It was a question that I granted the permission to wander at the back of my mind. Theo brought it up and now I had to face it. I was going to spend this week finding the courage to tell Theo and find the answers for myself. This was the moment that a strong urge to find Ian and the desire to throw my strongest punch at him hits me at 3 mph. And even though I didn't know the answer to the question myself, I lift my pinky finger and wrap it around the OS, saying, "Pinky promise." Childish. He laughs out. "That's supposed to be my line. You fucker." I grumble. "You and your beautiful, wide range of vocabulary." He adds. I take in another of his melodic laughter that resonates throughout the room. I laugh along with him, his laugh quite contagious. I knew fully well that it would be the last we would share until this miserable week finally ends.